We see almost 5 lakh viruses, unique viruses per day. AI is going to be in the hands of cyber criminals as well. Now the hackers have easy access.
Absolutely.
Cybersecurity war is going to be the war of agents in coming years. Develop AI agents to fight the AI agents.
Yeah.
On the dark web, we are seeing a lot of services available buying cyber criminals to design such codes. Think like an attacker and start using what is available for them in dark web.
Welcome to Discover Dialogues podcast, powered by Tech Dogs. The world of business and technology is evolving at breakneck speed. AI breakthroughs, digital transformation, and game-changing innovations are reshaping industries every day. On this show, we dive into the trends, ideas, and strategies driving the future. We're sitting down with industry leaders, innovators, and disruptors to bring you fresh insights, bold perspectives, and real conversations that matter. So plug in, tune in, and let's discover what's next.
Today on the show, we have Dr. Sanjay Katkar, Joint Managing Director, Seqrite, and co-founder and MD Quick Heal Technologies. With over 3 decades of experience, Sanjay has been at the forefront of cybersecurity innovation in India, starting from building his first antivirus during his masters to leading enterprise security solutions used across 80 plus countries today. Thrilled to have him with us to talk about evolving threats, enterprise defense, and what the future of cybersecurity looks like. Let's dive in. Welcome to Discover Dialogues, Sanjay. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Would love to understand from you a little about that journey itself. What was the Indian tech mindset, or the ecosystem back then when you started this? And I'm assuming this was in 1995, if I'm correct. Yeah. And how did it all come together?
First of all, I'll say thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to be on this podcast. And to start with, yes, it was really different tech environment, I'll say, or altogether a different environment. Tech was just beginning. Computers were very new. If I started this early 90s, 95 was my official launch of the antivirus. But then I finished my masters in 94, and I had been dealing with viruses since my college days itself, actually. So for me, if you see, those were the very early days of computers. Personal computers were not at home at that time, I'll say, and internet was not a mainstream thing. Email was yet to come, internet was not there, and computers were something that people were looking at as machines that were solving problems faster, doing things faster. And as a newly passed out from masters, I thought this is something interesting, because I had faced virus problems while doing practicals in college, and I really saw that it's a huge problem, and it's a tech problem, and something that really created a deeper interest for me, because I was very keen in doing reverse engineering or doing something, how it works or something, and that really excited me. And I never thought it to make as a, I'll say, household brand at that time. Focus was purely solving real problems out there, and I'll say, in the hindsight, that focus towards solving the problems became the real foundation where Quickheal is now today, actually. So that's how it started for me, actually.
Right. And then how did the whole enterprise security arm, and I think we call it Seqrite, right? How did that come into existence?
So that came quite later. So for me, when we started from 95, it was all about solving virus problem, and PCs were gradually catching up. And they were earlier only in banks and high-tech offices, but gradually, as we started seeing internet getting catching up, and people started using emails, started seeing websites, this started to become mainstream. And by, I'll say, late 90s, people were started to having PCs at home, and those who were doing engineering or something, they used to have PCs at home, and that's where we focused earlier. So we were more of a B2C at the beginning, and from 2000, I think we really caught up, because we even in early 5-6 years, we were really struggling and to catch up ourselves as a brand that can do solve their problems. But as 2000 came, as the virus problem becomes more and more complex, because as soon as the internet and broadband become widespread, the problem of viruses become exponential. Like it grew like anything. And then as we were solving consumer problems and we became leading market player in consumer internet security, we realized that the early adopters of our antivirus who were using even for small offices as well, the smaller businesses, they were using Quick Heal. But they also started growing, and as they started growing, their needs, their challenges of solving virus problem were different than the consumer problems. That's we started to realize that a need coming from a small office is little different, and then coming from a consumer is different. So we started adding features to Quick Heal itself earlier to make sure how we can help the businesses.
Correct.
But what we realize is not only adding features is helping, but we realize communicating is making different, because when we are advertising ourselves as आपके PC में कौन रहता है virus या Quick Heal, it was all focused towards home users.
Yes, home users.
And all the features that we put it on brochures and all, they were focused towards consumers. But then enterprise were having a different need.
Correct.
And we even had those features, but we were not able to communicate under the same brand. So over the period, we decided let's have a separate brand actually, and that's where the Seqrite was born. And one reason was communication, and the other was the need for businesses was at that time started to grow, and it become like networks started to become more complex. People started to use not only Novell, they started to use Windows NT and different networking, different endpoints, and the need to have higher visibility, more control over the network was more higher. And the MNC products that were available at that time, they were more designed with respect to the international standards and all that. The Indian needs were little missed out.
Yeah.
That gap we saw, and that's where we focused while we were developing Seqrite. So Seqrite started its journey as an endpoint security product, EPP, which was a very early stage at that time. And then gradually, if you see, we adapted, we improved, and we realized what are the needs, and we adapted towards the mid-size and then large enterprises. The feature sets change, and from there to now, if you see the endpoint detection and response or XDR or zero trust platforms, this is where the Seqrite has evolved to now.
So from what I understand, right, so one of the core things that you really stressed upon while you were doing it at Quick Heal also, and also at Seqrite, was that you wanted to solve problems that your customers are facing.
Right.
And those could be very unique to them. Okay. And then they could be unique at many levels to many people in that sense. So I think the question that I would love to ask in that context is, what are those unique problems that are very specific to enterprises today? Okay. And how are they different from, say, maybe what you could see globally? In the Indian context, if I was to ask, are there any specific examples that you would love to give?
Yeah, I can give a couple of them. One I can say is about, as I said, Indian networks are completely unplanned. They just add PCs, and then gradually they just wanted to add it to the network, and where they will add an additional modem or I'll say additional switch. Just switch. There is no planning for the network. There's no planning, and out there, I still see users in enterprises as well as small businesses using outdated operating systems where they OSs went out of life cycle. Microsoft stopped supporting, but they still use it. So now imagine these kind of networks, and still security is very high, because those are the more vulnerable networks than the highly updated latest networks. So that's the bigger difference out there actually. And the other thing is about, I'll say, in India, people are more tuned towards using a lot of open source, lot of I'll say even pirated or not. Pirated is not the right word. Maybe it's something that is easily available, and people are not checking the security aspect of that.
Correct.
And that's where we have a bigger challenge of securing these networks, making sure they are still protected from the attacks that are happening globally.
And now that you've done this for almost 20 odd years, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned throughout, not only from a business point of view, but also from, just developing the product itself. You've developed 2 products now. So what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned across?
It's a good question. So we started 90s. At that time, we never had a plan, as I said. But what was our advantage was, I was keen. I was having hobby of reverse engineering programs. So I started reverse engineering threats. But those threats as they evolve, they taught us a lot actually.
Mm.
I'll say what happened, we initially thought it's a virus, okay, it's good debug, let's do that, find a signature, release an update. But then realize they are evolving, they understood how we are detecting them, they change, they become polymorphic. Now there is no signature, then we have to develop a decryptor. Then they realize antivirus are developing decryptors, having simulators, and they started using packers. So this constant evolvements, constant adaptability and speed that we learned, and I realized that now just we are not fighting viruses, we are fighting the human behind that actually. And they are very smart out there. And then along with that, we have to, we changed our tactics to the level where we have to see that whatever we are developing, it has to be scaling up. So anything, I cannot hire engineers just to reverse engineer virus, because when we started, there were say 100 200 viruses per week. Now we see almost 5 lakh viruses, unique viruses per day. Now we cannot have that many reverse engineering guys or researchers. So all that is possible now for me is because all the automation that we have done. And that is what I learned out of this, that you have to have automation, otherwise you will be out of business. So that is one thing that we adopted to and learn from, I'll say, threat actors itself. We started to think how threat actors are thinking. We started to think like an attacker, think like a hacker. All these things really made us trying to stay one step ahead of them, made us always, I'll say, evolving, adaptable, agile. And that is the advantage that we had actually, I'll say, as a startup early. And now on Seqrite front, we have to think from the CISO point of view as well, because here he has the responsibility of protecting the whole organization. It's not only about endpoint, it's about like what is at the stake as a business. And as we see, the threat actors have evolved from smaller attacks to data breaches and more planned ransomware attacks. That's where, so what very important factor I can always tell as my learning over these 2 decades is about, you have to be quick, speed, adaptable, and automating yourself, learning the latest technologies and implementing them.
So on that note, we've gone from floppy disks viruses to full-blown ransomware attacks, that can literally paralyze institutions or businesses for that matter, and governments also now. But we are in 2025 today. And then, this entire space keeps on changing by the minute.
Right.
So in 2025, what do you think, what are some of the trending cybersecurity threats or cyber threats that businesses should be watching out for specifically?
So if you see this year, or the top 3 trending things that are very crucial for all the organizations are the same that were there for a couple of years. I'd say business email compromise, BEC we call that, ransomware as a service, which is a very biggest threat to all the enterprises. BEC, so business email compromise.
Got it.
Yeah. And then ransomware as a service. And then the other one is the data exploration. So it's data breaches and stealing the data and making use of that. So even though these 3 are the same vectors right now, but the techniques have changed over the years. So now we see more sophisticated attacks. The attackers are making use of AI to design a convincing, more powerful or more human-like emails to make you click on the links, and or make even deepfake voices, videos, to convince the person who is receiving that it's a real human, and people really get fooled and they click on that. So here I'll say they are making use of technology to look more real, more convincing, and that is where the current traditional business best practices are failing actually, because they have overcome that and they have done that. So BEC, ransomware and data breaches are still the highest things, I'll say.
So given the point that today, there's a lot of commonality between, a hacker and a developer who's trying to reverse engineer the exploit itself. Do you think that in many ways, every developer or security team needs to start learning from threat actors who are essentially like startups, in many ways? And what are some of the things that they could probably learn from them?
See, it's a very interesting question. I'll say because nobody thinks on those lines. We have gone and we have seen that how they have evolved. If you go on the dark web,
Yeah.
you will see a complete ecosystem of all the hackers and the affiliates out there. They have an ecosystem. They complete. We call them as groups. We divide them into groups. So ransomware gangs are there, and they are all organized in a way where they behave like a startup. They are more agile. They are adaptable. They share their research. So
Achha.
if some researchers have come across, okay, Microsoft stops threats at this level. I have come out with this technique. They put it out actually,
Okay.
and then it's out for sale as well.
Okay.
And then those who are having a say best of the ransomware as a service platform, they will
Right.
just offer that platform, and somewhere who is writing a ransomware will make use of that exploit, make use of that platform and target the customers. Again, for targeting victims, there is a organization out there who just profiles the organizations
Okay.
who are vulnerable, not having right security practices,
And all of this is out in the open.
yeah, and they are collaborating. They are very fast at doing that.
Okay.
And that is what I really tell even my team, that we have to make sure we learn from them in terms of at least collaborating with respect to researchers. And I'll say cybersecurity community is quite ahead with respect to that, because we collaborate with global researchers. We whatever we see, say for example in Japan or in US, we share day to day. In fact, it's a daily 3 times sharing happens actually.
Oh, is it?
And this helps, because unless that, it's very difficult. We cannot stop a threat that has started in say Europe and it's reaching in India, but all the threats are stopped automatically because we have that intel sharing, very quick intel sharing out there. Actually.
So we earlier touched upon how obviously your teams are, now working across the globe with researchers. Do you think that also kind of reflects in the cybersecurity organizations? Is there a level of camaraderie or collaboration that happens across competitors as well?
Yeah, it's a forum out there. We
Okay.
do share threats that we see in India that nobody has seen, or we have seen for the first time. We share that with all the global leaders, like
nice.
from say Kaspersky to Symantec to any player out there, because that's the only way we also get the feedback. So we do see what they are seeing new in their network, and they do share. So this sharing has been there since like almost 3 decades now, and it has turned into a completely automated ecosystem where we don't have to do it manually altogether. It's everything is automated. So we download TBs of data every few hours, and it is processed. And who shares that? That is through all other these researchers. We have that platforms created and designed, which is sharing of threat intel. There are multiple layers. One is just sharing of links, one is sharing of IOCs, and then there is a sharing of samples itself actually. And even OS vendors like Microsoft or Apple, they also do share these threats and different certs of different countries as well actually. So sharing helps definitely, because it's something many countries do follow public-private partnership, and in threat intel, it is intelligence that is shared actually.
Obviously, every organization or industry reacts to threats differently. I would love to understand, that in your opinion, what are some of the industries that are very prone, to threats? Maybe perhaps you feel are a little underprepared at this moment and should probably, given the fact that AI is now taking center stage, should start investing in, cybersecurity solutions that will help them stay ahead.
So in my opinion, if you see, the first thing that comes into my mind is healthcare. Healthcare is something that is really sitting on a very sensitive data, and they are having a lot of ecosystem at stake, where even human lives are at stake because of the healthcare. And I have seen they are not at all having cybersecurity budgets, or something that they are not focused at all altogether. And that is where the attackers are looking at. For them, it's a soft target, because it's easy to go inside the network, encrypt everything, and just lock and ask for ransom. That's happening globally actually. And so from my point of view, healthcare is one thing who really needs to think about cybersecurity as the first aspect, as a risk rather than a compliance. And then the next comes is education sector. Education again is a very underprepared. I'll say they have immature cybersecurity policies. They sit on, again, a huge data. They have personal data, they have research papers, they have IPs, and PhD related work going on. But then universities and colleges are not at all having that mature cybersecurity practices going out there. And it's again open for attacks. So
Right.
these two sectors, according to me, are the highly vulnerable right now. But overall, India as a nation, I'll say we are still way back than what is happening globally. We are spending very low with respect to cybersecurity. It is considered as compliance, and compliance need is what they are looking at and spending to just have a tick out there. But the point is, they're not looking it as a risk, which is very crucial.
And at the very core of everything, obviously, there is people. Right, it's people like you and me, and then there is employees who are using it, and there are teams who are designing the software itself.
Perfect.
And then, what are some of the things that these guys should do? I mean, I think a lot of the times the narrative that is built is that cybersecurity or protection against threat is the job of the company. Okay,
Right.
But then what's the individual's role here?
You rightly pointed. You touched upon the right pain point. I'll say cybersecurity is not only a tech problem, but it is a human challenge as well.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of aspect that goes behind it, because now, see, technology wise, a lot of things have come built into OS, a lot of things have come trying to become so secure. So where are these attackers targeting? They are targeting the weakest link, which is human actually.
Yes.
And then by doing the phishing attacks, by doing these kind of social engineering tactics, frauds are happening. So if you see every human, if it's an employee or a everyday tech user, if I have to tell them what to do and what they should be doing, is three things I can say is: think twice before clicking on any link. Think twice, because see, all the attacks that I have seen the breaches, I've seen in the beginning happens through an innocent link that comes into your mail or an SMS or a WhatsApp. That's the beginning. And that's where one really needs to think before clicking. Is that the real right source? You just have to verify from where it is coming and then click. And the next thing that a human should be doing is having a strong and unique password and different passwords for them. Maybe one should use the operating system's password manager, or they have the paid password manager as well. But it is a need, and if there is a facility to have a multi-factor authentication, MFA, go configure that. Because that is still the basic and easiest way to counter the threats at certain level. Of course, those are getting compromised, but that is the first step that anybody can do easily. And the third point I'll say is about keep updating. And all the tech guys, if it is OS or your TV or smart TV or your Android phone or apps, everything, they keeps on releasing update. And the major reason the updates are released is because they are fixing some vulnerabilities, and you should be updating them as soon as it's released, because that keeps the one more vector away from you, threat actor away from you. So really prepares well you to fight these threats. These are the three simple steps. Why I've told those three, because it is easy for everybody to follow. It's like I can come out with the list with use this, use that. Instead, just follow these three and you are much better prepared to fight threats.
Now, moving on to what's happened, I think the last 5 years or so. I think obviously machine learning came of age, and then we had blockchain, as the new entrant or superstar, and then we have. Well, off late, I think the last year has been all about AI, and for whatever reasons, seems to be the savior. But how do you think these technologies have really come together in the last 5 years to be able to, help enterprises level up their cybersecurity game, and companies like yourself as well, because you are leveraging these to be able to provide solutions that can effectively act against those threat actors.
So, ML for us, AI ML, has been there since long actually. Even we were not known that it is called as AI or ML. Because see, as I explained earlier, the number of threats, they have grown exponentially. And for us, the challenge was to adapt and still stay up to date with respect to the number of threats, protect all our customers. And we cannot do that without seeing those threats, but we have to proactively detect them. So what helped us and what began as automating these things, gradually that automation, we fall into like, okay, let's have an algorithm. And in late 90s we were using ML actually,
Oh.
machine learning. Because the number of threats, as I said, started growing. The operating system started becoming complex.
Right.
XP came and then Windows 95 and XP and then Windows 7. All these were making things more complex, and we have to test these threats across these platforms. So this has to be automated. And as the number of threads grew, we started using certain algorithms which helped us cluster these threads, bifurcate them without human intervention, and gradually we perfected at that. And we made it, as the cloud become more prominent, we made it like collect all the data. So you'll be surprised, we have virus from the day we started till now. All the collection is there out there, and you know how that data can help us to build these algorithms, because all these machine learning and AI algorithms work on data, and that is the advantage all the cybersecurity companies have, is they have huge data, and with that data we are able to at least come out with the algorithms that can predict early indicators of threat actually. And we, as soon as we see early indicators, we start doing preventive things, and that is there in cybersecurity. Almost 15 years back we started doing something related to AI actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and now it has become a mainstream. Of course, we were not using generative AI. For us, it was all about clusterings actually,
Right.
using random forest or other algorithms to just cluster them, and then gradually come out with the proactive detections. But then with this easy availability of AI now, we fear that this is going to be, now AI is going to be in the hands of cyber criminals as well. Now the hackers have easy access, which was not the case earlier. Because for having AI like technology, you have to have that much of data and that much of compute power and all that. But that was not there. But now it is easily. You can outsource and you just go get the access to ChatGPT by paying monthly and just start putting things. And we have seen threats using that to their advantage. They started using that, and this is, I'll say, still early stage, early adapting is happening, but I can envisage the future where we will be fighting against the AI agents. So we will have to develop AI agents to fight the AI agents, and this cybersecurity war is going to be the war of agents in coming years actually, and that is where we are moving towards, and we have to be prepared. So your question was in the right direction. These technologies really helped us a lot, but now it is going to help everybody, and we have to prepare the explosion of that, which is going to happen very soon. And your other question about the blockchain, I've seen the blockchain is a completely different invention, which is helping in a different aspect, like trying to get things of like keeping records and encrypted and making track of records in a distributed manner where nobody can alter them or nobody can change them. Once done, it's like a completely permanent record. And so it is helping on the supply chain related use cases that we see, especially when we are dealing with large amount of data that is being stored and kept, where they don't want to get it tampered. At the same time, they don't want to lose it, of course. So that's where it is being used mostly. So, but for us, AI ML is something that is really a game changer.
And talking about explosions in terms of how the future is going to pan out, how easy or difficult is it for anyone to start, quote unquote, create a virus or a threat?
See, for these easily available platforms like ChatGPT or Cloudy, all these platforms are having their guardrails for such usage, of course. But then on the dark web, we are seeing a lot of AI services available by cyber criminals to design such codes, and they are at the back end using these technologies by removing those guardrails using hacking ways. They are hacking ways. So they have designed prompts that fools those AI, and now they are providing you UI or an interface where you can ask the questions about developing scripts. They help you to remove those guardrails and use those AI to design a code and create a attack. And this is at the early stage right now, but this is changing fast actually. And because now AI is not just a tool that is you're seeing in developed countries, but it is now you see AI tools coming out in everywhere, from Russia, from China, from other countries where they have their own ways of protecting, which is not the standard way, and it can happen that you can easily access AI on the dark web to design code that can attack somebody. That can, one is attacking, the other is finding vulnerabilities. So doing automated pen testing kind of approach.
Yeah.
So we use AI for pen testing to see the vulnerabilities in your corporate network and point them. But then that can be used by hackers to get the vulnerabilities and then don't point them. They just use them, exploit them, and enter the network. So that is where the AI is being used. So automated continuous attacks is something where AI is being strongly used.
Right. So I think now we are living in a world where nobody can be trusted, the way I look at it, right? I think back in the day, once you are a part of the system or inside the system, means that you're a trusted person.
Right.
Okay. But then I think now we are starting off with zero trust, and that's another concept that you've widely spoken about, right? So I'd love to understand, this whole zero trust. Why is it becoming important for organizations to kind of bring it all together?
Yeah. So you rightly articulated in your question itself that corporates, when we see earlier, how they have been thinking is, okay, we have a corporate network and then we have an outside network or internet or a public network, and we are having an interface by having an internet line or broadband. And that's where the edge protection comes. We used to have protection like firewall and all these technology, intrusion detection, IDS, IPS, sitting at the perimeter and protecting everything. And once inside, we assume any PC communicating internally is safe.
Correct.
We never check them. In fact, anything that is going outside from the network is not checked, and that was the case. But as we see in last 4-5 years, there's a lot of change happened, especially after pandemic. People are working from home. People are using their personal devices for work. People are accessing enterprise applications from anywhere on the road as well. Like while if you see a delivery guy, they are accessing their internet or corporate application from their phone. So the perimeter has vanished, and we cannot have that perimeter now. So that's where the zero trust platform comes in. It has flipped the game on the reverse side. What they are doing is they are making sure nothing can be trusted. Everything needs to be verified. That's the basic rule. And zero trust is something, I'll say, even though it looks simple as a term, but it is really changed the game completely, and it has really helped to secure things a lot. And it's not only a technology, it is evolving and it's constantly changing. How I'll say, we started with a zero trust user access, then we realized, okay, zero trust network access is needed, zero trust segmentation is needed, then zero trust. So everywhere we are applying zero trust, no matter it's a human to human communication or a machine to machine communication, machine to human communication, then application to application. All these communications are verified before they are trying to establish or share data or do access to anything. So that's the approach, and it gives clear visibility user to their users, because they can see which device is going where, no matter where, even if it is your employee trying to communicate with your internal employee, but what is the reason why what is being shared, everything is being checked. And that's where you get that visibility, you get that control, and you can still have full visibility of what is happening in your network. And that also helps you to make sure that no other threat can move laterally inside your organization. Even though somebody brings a pen drive or something that goes inside your network, it stays in that endpoint. It's difficult to move. So zero trust had made it difficult for hackers to do their work. So like attack surface itself has reduced, and it's a way of, I'll say, a way of life, which is a must, and it's a new way of life which is going to help you in the long run.
Right. So, like you said, now the perimeters have vanished. Okay, now every device on the network, okay, is now an entry point for anything that could happen.
Right.
Okay. What do you think led to that convergence? Okay, and what are the implications for enterprises because of the same?
Yeah, so as I said, gradually as people started digitizing, people also started using cloud, moving to cloud. So one is digitization and then the other is cloud. That two technologies disrupted a lot of things for enterprise in a good way, that they started having easy way to communicate across the branches, easy way to do things, but at the same time support the work from home, which also helped a lot actually. And that is where the parameter got vanished. And because businesses went digital, they were able to do more better work, more better agility happened. But at the same time, this become your attack vector or attack surface increased to the level where you can get infected or attack from anywhere.
But what I've seen is that, you know, your CIS, CTOs, and all of those functions responsible for security speak a very different language than what, you know, the business leaders, or I wouldn't say business leader, but the boardroom speaks.
Right.
Okay, and how do you address that gap first? Okay, and
So convincing is a big task actually.
No, so I would love to understand, you know, how do you do that? I mean, see, like I said, great for you, but not across the organizations. What would you suggest, you know, to the CTOs and CIOs? And
So for me it was easy because myself I am from a security background, so
Correct.
even I sit on the board and I am one of the member as well. So
Right.
it's for me
Yeah.
knowing that is easy. But then I've talked to a lot of CIOs and their main challenge is to convince the board for the because cybersecurity investment is a big investment. And that's where so what is it that how they can explain this in a much non-tech way or much easier to explain way. So many times I give an analogy of airport security. If you look at airports, look at it as a corporation. They are not just protecting the runways. What they are also protecting is the passengers. They are also making sure there's a law enforcement there. There's a immigration out there. There's a baggage check-in. There's different sections and different ways of securing, and they are having all those multiple layers of security. And if at all any incident happens, they don't shut down the airport. They just isolate the problem, and everything still works. That approach you need to have it for your business as well, because your business is an airport. Look at it as an airport, and then you'll see if you don't have those layers of security, you will have to shut down the business even for a small incident, a small breach, and you'll have to shut down. It's not affordable nowadays, and that's why you need to have layers of security, isolation practices, best practices implemented, and also drills done, cybersecurity awareness created to all the employees, from like I'll say CXOs to the level of even office boy out there who is allowing guests to enter. All that is crucial, and that can be only explained by a smaller examples like this. And
no, I think that is a fantastic example. Honestly, I never looked at an airport to be a very good metaphor for actually what happens. And now that I start thinking about it, it's actually true. You know, you can isolate the problem, you know, figure out what department, which
there are multiple agencies out there. Everybody has their different roles, and still they function because people are doing immigration checks. There's duty free excise policies out there, and then baggage related theft. Everything is there, but they have put it layer wise, and every stage they are having security. So that's how we need to think as a business, not just as a compliance matter. Okay, I have a firewall, I have an endpoint security, I have done. And if you are looking at that as a security, you are about to get breached someday, because you're not thinking as what exactly are you protecting. Are you protecting the right things? Are you investing into the right things and integrating them?
And looking ahead, you know, what are some of the things that, you know, you at Seqrite are working on, you know, to be able to help businesses and enterprises secure themselves better? Is there something that, you know, something that's very unique to you guys, or you're trying to solve something?
So for us, like, our team is more focused now towards how we can leverage AI and the explosion into AI that is happening, the newer algorithms that are getting released, new versions that are getting released. How can we make use of that to simplify the security for enterprise? Because even though we do have technologies like XDR or SOC related things, but the thing is the alerts and the things are still overwhelming to the operator, and we are trying to see how we can leverage AI to cut down the noise and just bring the right alerts in front of the user. So trying to see how AI can help them in doing those day-to-day tasks. But at the same time, we also have this backend which we call as security labs, Seqrite labs,
Okay.
which is focused on analyzing day-to-day threats that we are seeing globally,
Okay.
and releasing updates to our softwares and alerting our users what is the new modus operandi, what is happening, and doing research what next. So think like an attacker and start using what is available for them in dark web, try to use that, and how next attack will come like is what we are doing as well. So that's one aspect that we have to keep on doing, and unless that we are not well prepared. And as I said, I am seeing the newer challenges is about how cyber criminals are going to use this latest technology.
Correct.
And how scary it's going to become actually.
Yeah.
Because see, earlier it was not easily available for them.
Yeah.
We as a cybersecurity vendor, we invested heavily into our labs. We invested
Correct.
like we had like 500, 600 servers which are virtual, and there are similar number of servers which are in the network and doing. Every threat is being tested on different configurations of operating system, and all everything is automated. So that kind of investment is there, and that's helping us to proactively protect our customers. But at the same time, what is happening? That was not easily available for cyber criminals. But now, because of AI, that has reduced that. Actually, so for them, it's much easier now. Now we have to think on how they are going to use AI to fool our protections and still go and target their customer victims. So that's where our focus is again. Actually.
So fantastic conversation so far, Sanjay. I think we've covered a lot of things that we wanted to cover. Now we'd love for our audiences to get to know you a little bit more personally.
Oh, okay.
The next section that we have for you is a rapid fire.
Sure.
Sure.
This is interesting actually.
Okay. Early riser or night owl?
I am more of an early riser. Actually.
What's your idea of the perfect day off?
For me, a perfect day off is about spending time with my friends, going out somewhere and just chilling with my friends. And I love that actually.
Any specific place or location that you would love to go?
No particular selection about place.
Got
Just like the
Just with
company is
friends.
more
Company is more
important.
important.
Yeah.
One of the films or maybe series that you watched maybe multiple times.
I am more of a sci-fi guy actually.
Okay.
I've seen Terminator 2, I'll say at least 10-15 times.
What is the strangest question that was ever asked to you in cybersecurity?
Questions have changed over the time. In early days, people used to ask me, "Are you guys the one who write viruses?" Actually, and I was like having hell of a tough time to explain them what is and how I'm not that. Now people do ask me, will AI control everything, and is AI a virus actually? And that's the strangest question I face nowadays actually. And I have to tell them, AI is something that is created by humans.
One leadership lesson that you wish you had learned early in your career?
Very important leadership lesson that I learned and now I am doing is personal branding, I'll say, because unless you are able to tell what you're doing, it will not get sold.
Fantastic. I think that's fantastic advice. And Sanjay, that pretty much brings us to the end of our conversation. It was fantastic having you on the show.
Yeah, I love this conversation actually. It really brought into something, a lot of different aspects that I never spoken, but yeah, I loved it actually.
Any parting words for our audiences or for TechDocs for that?
Parting words with respect to, I'll say technology is going through a lot of explosion because of invention of AI related things and that the speed at which they are evolving. If all the guys who are listening to this are more tech guys, I'll recommend them to keep track of podcasts that are talking about newer AI models being released because it's going to impact you in the future. You should be ready for that, and you will be only ready if you listen to them now. What is being planned, what is expected, maybe you will be better prepared to face it and better prepared to use it as well. So keep an eye, keep a track on AI related explosions that are happening. I keep on telling even my kids, even wherever I go to college, because see, people look at it as a tool. Okay, ChatGPT is a tool I can use and all. It's no more related to that. Now it is coding for you. Now it is creating for you. It is making films. It is writing code, and that is getting perfected. Now even if you see the code is maybe it's generating code that you think you could have developed that, but it is improving, and it is improving to the level where you will see code coming out of AI which you would have never designed that level of code, and it's not far away. That time is closer.
I think that's fantastic advice. Once again, thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining us today.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, or your favorite podcast app. Catch past episodes and more at techdogs.com. See you next time.